That
This
works. Yeah.
conference will now be recorded.
There you go.
Uh-oh.
So be careful what you say. I now have you recorded, okay?
You have 15 out of 51.
16, yeah. Well, I'm
16.
gonna have some latecomers, I'm sure. So I hope everybody is well. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody else having any new cases. Everybody on this call is well, and your loved ones are well, I hope. That's the most important
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
The news seems to think we're heading in a positive direction, so don't take that lightly. Still stay at home, still do the social distancing until this is over with, all right? You know, sometimes people get a false sense of security saying, you know, they hear on the news, oh, things are better, but, you know, it's not better yet. We're getting there, just not yet. So patience is definitely going to be the key in this whole thing. So just keep doing what you're doing. Luckily, the weather's nice, so I'm gonna try to get my fire pit going tonight and you know, maybe take a walk in the sunshine and stay away from people. So hopefully you guys are getting a little vitamin D and getting out in the sunshine while it's here. So take off that new agent training tonight for the agents, any new agents, or even anybody who needs to spruce up their listing presentation. I'm going to do that next Wednesday. All right, so it'll be at 6 p.m. And I'll send the invite out to everybody the way I do regular meeting, and we will go over how to update your listing presentation, the one that's available in the intranet. All right. For the most part, it's pretty easy. You're just throwing your picture and your name wherever Tom Murtaugh is. But there are 2 pages that you can customize. So, you know, make sure you do that, whether your first day in the business or, you know, 20 years in the business, should utilize those customized pages. All right. I'm going to skip over numbers because obviously they're sad right now. If you do have a deal that's in the works and can let me know where it is, I would appreciate it, because we did have like 6 or 7 deals that were either first accepted or half signed. And so far I've only heard there's 2 deals that fell apart because of this, but I didn't hear about the rest of them. So I'm hoping maybe we still have some things that are alive to help us out. So before I get into the agenda, I'm just going to talk about the MLS rules that John went through. So we all know we've merged with One Key now, with Hagar, and we're now One Key. So you're able to show properties in upstate, basically, in Putnam County, Orange County, Bronx, Westchester, and Rockland County, Sullivan County. All right, there's a map online that you can see what you'll have access to. It's all in One Key. One of the other things, just a side note, for those of you that have listings, please check your listings in Stratus. Once we went over, there were some issues. So some school districts didn't transfer correctly. So please make sure your information is correct and if it's hitting the sites properly. We know of some issues where they're not feeding to Zillow, all right? So better you be prepared rather than have your homeowner call you screaming, why isn't my house on Zillow or Realtor.com? And why does it say that I am in the Valley Stream School District when I'm in Franklin Square School District? So make sure the information on your properties is accurate, all right? You can get a copy of the rules in the info center. As of May 1st, we talked about this at one of our other meetings before we knew this was going to happen. Internal square footage is going to be mandatory. So when you're putting in any new listings, you're going to have to find out what the square footage of the property is. You can find that on, sometimes you can find it on public record. If the property's in Queens or Brooklyn, probably Property Shark or Street Easy is going to be your better bet, or always you can use GeoData. For any of you that are new and don't have a GeoData account, just contact me and I don't know if Tim's still giving new accounts out, but you guys all have access to, half the company has access to my account. So that will give you access to properties anywhere. So you can go on there and the internal square footage should be on there. And there it's called GLA though. All right. So if you have questions, come see me. One of the other changes is withdrawing the lease. Used to be in Stratus when you withdrew something. So say you had a listing and it didn't expire until October. Okay. And usually we normally hold the seller to that commission obligation date, which is the expiration date. Once that date has passed, the listing will expire automatically. Okay. So it used to be, it would just stay in a withdrawn state. Now it's going to expire. So agents will be able to see it and will be able to go after it the day after that commission obligation date passes. So if for some reason you give them a commission obligation date till the end of the week, it will show as an expired listing at the end of the week. So just know that. Okay. All right, this is the big thing, a 3-hour rule, and I actually asked about it to make sure I understood it correctly. You guys must, we've always said that, make sure that the front desk, in this case it's me, knows the status of your property. So whether it's a first still showing, first no more shows, first no more shows, you need to have a letter on file in writing from the homeowner stating they wish not to show anymore. That needs to be available immediately. But if somebody calls on one of your properties, you're supposed to get back to them within 3 hours. So if somebody calls and leaves a message right now, obviously I'm not going to answer my phone during a meeting. So I have to get back to them within 3 hours and let them know the status of that property. Okay. So if somebody calls you and leaves a message on your phone, all showings go through you. The showing instructions on Stratus say all showings go through you, and they leave you a voicemail, you have to get back to that person within 3 hours. Doesn't mean they can call and say, all right, I want to show the property today, and you have to let them in. It just means you have to get back to them within 3 hours and say, all right, well, I have to call the homeowner and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. So does everybody follow that?
Yes.
I didn't mute you, so you have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anybody who doesn't understand it? All right, I'm not checking the chat box, so you can just put,
I understood it, but I had a question. Chris mentioned, I think, a software named Showing Time. Do you know anything
yes,
about?
that's what we use at the front desk normally. Right now, we're not using it, obviously, because we can't really show anything. But that is what we use at the front desk normally.
Okay, so once the person calls us, does Showing Time give an automatic response? Is that how it works?
No. What it'll do is, so we have listings. Another agent calls our front desk and says, what is the status of 123 Main Street? The secretary has to tell them right then and there, it's available, not available, whatever the case is. Where the problem comes in is when somebody puts on their listing all showings through the listing agent, and that agent from another company leaves a message on that agent's voicemail saying, I'd like to know the status of 123 Main Street, and the agent doesn't get back to them for days, which happens, okay? Because the agent knows, oh, well, it's not available anymore. That's where you could get into trouble, and it could result in a fine. That's what it is. So we always suggest that you should have all appointments go through the front desk, because first of all, the front desk can verify whether or not the person who wants to show it is really an agent. They'll look them up in eAccess to make sure they're an agent. A lot of times if they're a member of LIBOR or now even Hagar, I'm assuming they're gonna transfer over, we'll be able to pull them up in the system. So we'll verify whether the agent really is an agent. Sometimes you get agents in Queens. We had one once where one of the agents was doing a deal, and in the middle of the deal, the agent's license expired. So they really shouldn't be practicing real estate anymore. Somebody else should have taken over that deal. Their broker wasn't even aware of it. And when I tried to reach them, nobody got back to me. Nobody seemed to care. So that's why having the front desk make your appointments is so critical, because they will verify whether or not that agent really is an agent. All right, because you don't want just some random person showing your homeowner's house. What if, God forbid, you let somebody show the property, say there's a lockbox on it, and it turns out they're not really a realtor, and they decide to rob the place. You just gave them access to that property, okay? Because you didn't do your due diligence and verify that that person really was an agent. Oh, well, they said they were an agent. How did you verify that? When they call the front desk looks in showing time to make sure if they don't show up in showing desk, they know to go and look at e-access to make sure that their license is valid. And if not, they will not grant them access to the property. Okay? So, but the point of the
Lori?
3 hour, I'm sorry.
No,
Somebody
go
said-
ahead. I'm sorry. When you're done.
Okay. So the point of the 3 hour rule is not that you have to grant them access within 3 hours, you just have to get back to them within 3 hours. So for the agents, we have a bunch of agents that like to control all the showings and do them themselves. Usually they're pretty good. They'll call the office and say, please put this into showing time. And I don't know if everybody saw, I don't know if you guys even get the email now. Showing time added an option for a virtual showing. So if you guys do
That's
have
what I-
vacant properties and you're letting agents show the property virtually to their buyers, you can log that in the system. So you'll just call me and let me know to log it in. I got to see if I still have the password for showing time, but I'll find it somewhere. All right. Know that.
I'm
So-
sorry.
Go ahead, Kyria.
Is there an expectation that we would still be obligated to the 3 hour rule if they call after hours at 8 p.m., et cetera?
No, I would say no. Somebody did ask that in the class, and John wasn't 100% sure because the rules aren't clear. But I would say if somebody leaves a message on your phone at 8 o'clock at night, you don't have an obligation to get back to them until working business hours the next day. I would
Fine.
say it's not, a reasonable expectation. If they complain, I don't know any board that's going to, listen to somebody complain. Well, I left a message on their cell phone at 10 p.m. and they didn't call me back until 10 a.m. the next day. Like, to me, I'd laugh at somebody who does that. So I really can't, that's not a reasonable expectation. Granted, we do work, unreasonable hours sometimes, but nobody could expect you to answer your phone at 10 o'clock at night. Somebody tries to call me at 10 o'clock at night, more than likely my phone is off. So good luck to you. All right. So I would say it's a reasonable expectation, but if somebody calls you at 9 a.m. and you don't get back to them till 12, you don't get back to them till 5 p.m., you better have a really good reason. All right. And if you can't, then you need to make sure that the front desk is aware or make alternate arrangements. Okay. Everybody good on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a big one. The other one was when I started two things. What was the other thing? Oh, presenting offers. This was another thing. I know people do not do this. You're supposed to get back to anybody who presents an offer. You must acknowledge that the offer was received. Doesn't have to be presented, but that the offer was received within, I think it was 24 hours. So for listing agents, John suggested, and I think this is a really good idea, send everything in writing anyway. So if you're the listing agent, I would tell the cooperating agents, okay, email me everything that you have and I'll present it as soon as possible or whatever the story is, okay? And as soon as you get that email, just quick email back saying, I received your offer, I'll let you know when it's presented, okay? So that was another thing that I know wasn't being done before. So I want to make sure you're all clear on that now. So somebody sends you an offer or you send another agent, say you're on the buying side, you email somebody an offer, they have to get back to you within 24 hours, at least that they received the offer. Not that it was presented, not that it was, acknowledged, although 24 hours should be a reasonable amount of time for somebody to present an offer. But you have to at least get back, they have to at least get back to you, or if you're the listing agent, you have to get back to them within 24 hours that you received their offer. You guys all got that?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So that was my little sidebar on MLS rules. Definitely try to take the class, go online, look at the rules. Even though they're not enforcing them right now, at some point they will be. So why not learn them now so that you don't break them when they do start enforcing them? Because some of them are pretty hefty fines. There was one, you guys have to start uploading your paperwork when you put in a new listing. So if you don't do that within 24 hours of putting the listing on, it's a $250 fine and it's automatic. Okay. So with Dotloop, there's no reason why you can't get this stuff all done. If you have questions, come see me. All right. That was another big one. All right. And the fine increases as the days go on, just so you know. All right. All right. So a couple of things yesterday. I don't know if anybody was on the Jared James call. Century 21 had set up a, one of these Zoom calls with Jared James. He's a big speaker right now, very motivational, talking about the 7 things you should be focusing on right now. Some of this stuff we already talked about, because I've listened to him talk before, and yesterday was pretty much what he's been saying for the past 2 weeks. One, any of your communication with your sphere of influence, you should be shifting from a sales conversation to a service message. All right. So how are you? How are you doing? It's a great time to reach out to your sphere of influence. Get back to that database. Okay. People you haven't spoken to in a long time. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. Do you have any questions about the market? Right now, remind people April 15th is the deadline to grieve their taxes. So maybe, with everything going on, people aren't even thinking about that. So let them know you could provide them with comps, if they want to do that, if they haven't done it so far. Okay. Be a visible leader in your marketplace. A great person who's doing this right now, I don't know if you guys are aware, Kevin Alberta, one of our agents. He has started a GoFundMe page, or you can even just Venmo him money. And what he's doing is he's delivering pizzas to local hospitals. He's even gone into the city and dropped them off to firehouses. He's delivering food to first responders and healthcare workers. So he is a visible leader in his marketplace. People see him doing good. Okay.
Following, he's doing an amazing job. He's all over.
He really is. He is. He's all over the place.
He's in Brooklyn too. He's gone to Brooklyn. He's here in Queens.
Right.
He's everywhere.
He's got a Facebook site and he's amazing.
He really is. And
Yeah.
he's still working his other job. If anybody doesn't know him, he's a part-time agent who does more than a lot of full-time agents, but he is a sanitation worker in Valley Stream. And so he works in the morning at his regular job and then cleans himself up, goes by pizza and delivers it to those who need it. Okay. So he's
whole team.
being a visible leader in his marketplace. Another suggestion that was made was you could go into a lot of these towns have groups. If they don't already have groups, you could create one. So let's say for Helene lives in Forest Hills. She could click on start a group saying restaurants that are still delivering in Forest Hills. All right. It's an informational group and you're providing a service, or the hours that supermarkets are open, or CVS is open or whatever it may be, something like that. So you're offering a service to your community and you're being a leader in your marketplace. All right. So that's something to look into. All right. Next, and probably most importantly, is what I've been saying to you guys for the past 2.5 weeks is prepare for the surge. All right. How do you do that? You're doing tons of education. All right. Listening to motivational speakers, catching up on your continuing ed. You'll notice with new agents, usually I start training on the buyer side and then get to listings. I've totally flipped it. Okay. Because right now you can't show anything anyway. So let's concentrate on listings. All right. So that's what we've been doing. Last week, they learned how to price, do a CMA, how to price a property. Next week, they'll learn how to actually do the listing presentation. What tools do we have to offer? Each and every agent of ours, you're representing Century 21 when you go out on the listing presentation. It doesn't matter whether or not you know the person or you don't know the person, you're still representing Century 21 American Homes. So you really should know the tools that you have at your disposal. okay? The worst thing that could happen is you're up against somebody, and sometimes you don't even know. You could be up against somebody in your own office, or maybe somebody in another office. We do have 12 of them. So, you know, if you're in there and you give them just the bare basics, this is the price, and oh, we advertise on all these websites and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, another agent from the Oceanside office is up against you, and they go into the benefits of AdWorks and all the sites and how it's enhanced on all the sites, and, you know, how we have full-time secretaries and, you know, a sign company and all the things that we have to offer. They're going over it and you're not, you're going to look bad. So you guys have so many tools at your disposal, and I know people don't know about them because it happens. I sit here and I talk to you guys in meetings, and, you know, then somebody comes up to me and be like, oh, I didn't know we had AdWorks, and I want to go like this, pull my hair out, and,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know that you have these at your disposal. So even though I said it's a new agent class next week, sit in on it, even if you need to brush up, okay? So preparing for the surge, you know what? Your kids are all home. If you have kids, practice doing a mock CMA with them. Let them be the, you know, the grumpy seller. They'll love to do it. All right. So practice what you're saying, you know, to what you're going to say to your homeowner. Okay. The next thing, and even this next thing, you don't even have to do it. Create content like never before. Be visible. Okay. So maybe we're not doing as many mailers. So social media. Last Saturday was Jimmy's social media class. I didn't really see a lot of our agents that attended it. So you really need to take advantage of that. And you know what? Every 2 days, American Homes has a marketing committee, and we're working on creating content, and all you need to do is share it. So you're going to look like the market expert just by sharing stuff that's already made for you. That's literally all you have to do. So it's not reinventing the wheel. Although I gave you some, last week gave you some good places to go, Riz Media, Inman, Jared James, is Keeping Current Matters. All those places are good places to get content. So maybe you don't like the content that, you know, the company's putting out. Maybe you want your own. Those are some places where you can get free content, okay? His next thing, get physically fit. I'm gonna skip over that because obviously I think it's good to be physically fit because you want to be healthy, obviously, you know, and it's all about having the right mind frame. I'm not going to tell you to exercise when I'm not doing it, though, so I'm not going to be hypocritical. But if you like it, do it. Go for it. All right. You have to think differently, okay? So he referenced Warren Buffett, you know, in a stock market that's going down, Warren Buffett buys, you know, when it goes up, he sells. You know, so he's thinking, you know, differently, like salmon swim upstream. So does anybody have any ideas of how we could think differently in this economy, in this market? Anyone? Don't all jump at once. All right. Well, if you think of any, let me know. I don't have really any great ideas for that. But, you know, I don't know. Sometimes we do have to think outside of the box. Like with the virtual tours right now, that's, you know, whoever came up with that originally, that is thinking outside the box. You know, we have to do that. So, you know, try to think differently, right? And then his last thing, this is all about a positive mental attitude. Tell yourself daily that you were born enough, okay? Which you guys are all great agents. You're all good people, which is even more important. So you should believe in yourself. That's the bottom line, okay? So any questions on that?
What
And-
could we do now?
No,
What do you mean, what can you do
Right.
now?
I mean, we cannot mail, we can't do anything.
You can mail. You can definitely mail to
did it.
people that you know, your sphere of influence. If you've already sent stuff to your farm, you could send something else, but it's got to be service oriented. It's not going to be, you know, I'm the realtor for you, that kind of thing. It's
No.
got to be something
no,
service oriented.
I did a massive mailing through RSP, the RSP, whatever I use,
Mhm.
but it wasn't even repeated. It was more of stay safe, stay kind. It
Right.
was nice. So that went out.
Right,
We'll
exactly.
see.
Maybe something on, you know, cleaning your house properly, or there's a big thing all over the news right now with groceries. People are so concerned about bringing groceries in, how they should be, you know, wiped down. I'm sure you can find something, go to one of the news sites and, you know, find that. My husband and I were having an argument last week, not last week, a couple of days ago. We went for a walk, and as soon as we came in the house, I told them to take their shoes off. Now, he's a fanatic about everybody washing their hands as soon as they come in. But I was like, take your shoes off. This is airborne. You don't know. Somebody could have sneezed 2 feet, you know, before we stepped there, and now you have it on your shoes. And so sure enough, there was something on the news the next day. I was like, see, I told you. So, you know, something like that, you know, not we assume everybody knows the same things we do, but it's not always, you know, the case. So that, you know, something along those lines might be helpful. Okay. So, and as far as, you know, social media, again, that's the next thing that you should be concentrating on. If you're not visible on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at the very least, you should be on all 3 of those, okay? So those are 3 great places where you can post things and it costs you nothing, 0, okay? So make sure you're taking advantage of that. So I don't want to hear you can't do anything, because you can do stuff, all right? And that's kind of what my point has been in all these meetings is you should be, you know, educating yourself and preparing for the surge. Make sure you have all your tools ready to go when the surge does happen, because it is going to happen. I told you guys all last month was our best month ever since I was in Franklin Square. And I expect that to pick up where it left off. It might take a month or 2, but I think it's going to happen. All right. So people still need houses. And like I said the last time, what are the main things, right? Death and divorce have always been our bread and butter, unfortunately, in any market, whether it's a good market or a bad market. Unfortunately, people still die, people still get divorced, okay? Now you're gonna have an added bonus in 9 months of the people that are stuck inside, and there's gonna be a baby boom. So people are gonna need bigger houses, all right? So I think that's even gonna help, all right? So it's coming. I like to stay positive, and I think it's coming. So you need to prepare for that surge, all right? So another thing was I sent out an email yesterday with a 21-day workout challenge on Workplace. The person who posted it is Lisa Lozano, but it's actually through Century 21 University. So I registered for it. I got an email today. So you'd be, I think, 3 days behind because it started on Monday. But that, you know, I haven't looked into it totally myself, but it's something, 21 days of what you can do to get yourself ready to start building business. Jared James is very big on working in your business, not on your business. And, you know, one of the things he had said is this really opened your eyes into how customer centric your days were before. We get so busy being stuck in the process of a deal, you know, following up to make sure, you know, whatever issues came up in the inspection were fixed, and title issues and surveys, and, you know, dealing with attorneys, making sure they're doing what they got to do for their mortgage. That's all customer service for a deal that's already happened. But you know what happens? That deal closes. You may not have anything in the wings unless you were prospecting throughout this time. So being you can't do cold calling, you got to do the warm calling, all right? Contact the people you know, all right? And reach out to them. Some people that have been in this business forever, and I'm guilty of this myself, is, you know, I looked at my database and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't spoken to this person in forever. Reach out to them. It's a perfect time to reach out to them, okay? And on that note, just a reminder, because people are still coming up to me and saying, oh, I can't cold call. No cold calling, and you cannot do in-person showing, all right? I don't know if you guys have been watching the NYSAR communications, but there was a video yesterday and she reiterated no face-to-face showings. If you're doing any showings, they are virtual only, okay? If you have somebody that you're taking to a vacant property, you let them in, you stay outside, all right? There should be gloves, masks, and booties at the very least if you're doing any kind of in-person showings, which you really should not be doing. The only things in person you should be doing maybe is a walkthrough, all right? Even closings, we got a couple of closing checks this week. They were either mailed or the agent went and picked them up, okay? So we do not want to be face-to-face with anybody at this point. That's the whole point of this, is stay 6 feet apart, all right? And that is it. I don't know, Tim, are you on the call? Is Tim here? Tim was supposed to be on here. He must have forgotten. He was going to talk about the mortgage industry and
I
what's
spoke to
going
him
on.
yesterday.
But I guess he forgot about us. All right, so if I get any updates from him on that, I'll let you guys know. Do you guys have anything for me?
Sorry, I just got a quick question.
Sure, Agatha, what's up?
Not pertaining to the subject matter, but the class that we LIBOR, of course, we know.
You're breaking up, Agatha. I can't hear you. Say that again?
The class, the new agents that was supposed to take the class at LIBOR, which was
New agent orientation, right? Mm-hmm.
now, can that be taken online?
Yes.
LIBOR?
Yes. Yep.
Now, charge for that. It's still 65, or are they waiving it?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I would assume they should waive it, quite honestly, because it's the only way you can take it. They're not offering it in person. But I could call for you and find out.
I'd
And
appreciate
see.
that would be great to get that done with while we have this little bit of time.
Right. I don't know if they're going to be shutting anybody off. They give you that 90 days from when you get your license to take that. I'm
Okay.
sorry, from when you become affiliated. So I don't know what they're doing as far as enforcing that right now, but I will definitely double check on that for you and let you know.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else?
Yeah, Lori, where can I get the MLS rule?
You can get it through LI Realtor on the info center. They should be on the right-hand side. I don't know if I have, no, I don't have Stratus open. I'd show you, but when you go into the info center on the right-hand side, it says MLS links, I think. It's usually where you find like RPR and Collaborate and office locations, all of that. So there's a link right there for MLS rules. And I believe they said, I didn't check it myself, they said they were updated with the new one key rules.
Well, I have to go into Stratus, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I did. I didn't see it. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Okay, I'll look at it and I'll send it to you. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Lori, it's Connie. I have a question.
Sure, Connie.
Hi, I have one agent from Keller Williams. In 30.
You're breaking up, Connie. I can't hear you.
You know what? I'll call you later if you want.
Okay, that's fine.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, who's that?
Donna.
Oh, hey, Donna. You're in my Microsoft then. Okay.
Yes, so that's me. Yes, okay. Can you send the MLS, the rules to the email for some of us that don't have it?
You know what? I'll find it and I'll send it to everybody. It's going to be a pretty big document, but I'll find it and I'll send it to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Then you guys have no excuse for breaking them.
Oh, man, we can't.
Brian to say that.
Oh, wow.
I also want to know how to find it, okay?
What was that, Clara?
After you send it, I also want to know how to find it.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll send instructions on that. Yep.
Thank you.
MLS rules and how to find it. You see, I'm writing it down. See, written down. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I just want to be very, very clear.
You're breaking up.
Am I breaking up also?
You're breaking up.
Only when people are about to purchase or have signed an agreement, it's that when we're allowed to take them for showings? You know, is that
No,
what you mean
you
by?
can still work with customers. You can still work with customers. You have to do agency point of first contact, but you don't have to sign every single buyer up as a buyer agent. It's a good idea, you know, and what John was saying in today's class was he tells his agents not to work with the buyer for more than 2 weeks without having them sign a buyer contract, because then you could just be wasting your time. So you can take them out, but without them being a buyer client.
Okay, my thoughts were that all showings were not going to happen unless this was someone that has actually signed a contract to purchase the home. Like there's,
Nope.
all right.
It shows
Yeah.
it all.
No, I know. I'm glad you asked that question because other people might have been confused about that as well. So no, he suggests to his agents not to, but you know what? You could get, once the leads start coming in again, you could get a Zap call. And you know what? If the person hasn't met you, it's going to be really hard for you to convince them that they need to only work with you. And basically by signing a contract, that's what they're doing, is saying, I'm only going to work with you. You have to build a little bit of a rapport with it. And I mean, did you take Deb Soaring to Success? If not, she definitely goes over that, the buyer consultation and why you should work as a buyer's agent. It's definitely in your best interest to do so.
I think I'm using the wrong language. My thoughts were an offer has been made on the house. That's when we were allowed to do a walkthrough. Other than that, all showings were canceled. But when
Oh, yeah, that's a totally different question. Okay.
Yeah, someone is actually offered. That's when no one wants to buy a house that you haven't seen. So
it's only if the seller is allowing it. If the house is occupied, most sellers are not going to let anybody in the property. So you might have to get to the point of, an offer has, terms have been accepted, you've talked about numbers and, you've come to an agreement based on the condition they get to actually see the house. So in that case, and like I said, if you're showing a property, you are not in the house at the same time as them. Maybe you go in a few minutes early, you walk through it so you can see it yourself, see if there's any issues, and then have them walk through it. You're not walking through the property with them at the same time. Okay. All right. We got to maintain that 6 foot distance, and you don't want to be in an enclosed space with somebody. And I'll give you a perfect example. My sister may have the virus. Her husband is a New York City captain. He has absolutely no symptoms, but half of his precinct has tested positive. So she's sick. She's got a fever. She's got, she's got a headache. She's got a sore throat. She's got a lot of the symptoms. So she's being tested. He's perfectly healthy, but he could be a carrier. You could be a carrier right now. What if you go face to face with somebody and you didn't know it and you get sick 2 days later? Those people are going to be really pissed at you that you got them sick, right? The whole purpose of this is to stay away from each other, So I would say only if you think it's, definitely happening. This buyer is ready to go. They've, agreed. I would even make the offer sight unseen, quite honestly, and discuss the terms, but tell the listing agent it's contingent on them getting a physical inspection of the property. All right. That's how I would go about it. Helene?
Can I make a point? The other issue I think we all need to consider is the status of employment for our buyers. So I had a deal Sunday night, Cuomo shut us down. I had an accepted offer, got the inspection done immediately, all of that. Contracts went out. My buyer said, I'm going to sign it tomorrow. And thank goodness they didn't. They were both laid off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't know how long they'll be laid off for, but I'm sorry Tim's not on the call. Tim and I had like a really long conversation yesterday, but you're now going to face issues with people in their employment status. Because if someone's unemployed right now, they're not going to end up getting that mortgage in the end, no matter what they're approved for.
Right.
That's a whole nother side of our issues.
Yeah, we have to, obviously, you're going to have to make sure of that. If they were pre-approved, even a month ago, that may not even hold up today. You have to make sure of that. Find out what they do. I mean, obviously, if they're a police officer, a nurse, somebody with a stable job like that, you're not going to really have to worry because they're not losing their jobs right now. But, anybody else could be. Anybody else is subject to it. So obviously, ready, willing, and able means, that they do still have a job. All right. Yeah. So, and yeah, that's something else that you're going to have to take into consideration. What if you have somebody that was furloughed and, maybe their original job isn't taking them back. They have to get a new job. A lot of the mortgage guidelines say they have to show employment for a year or 2 years, depending on the program. So they may not be eligible anymore if they had to switch jobs because of this. right? That's something we're not going to know until after this is all over and people start getting their jobs back that have been furloughed. So, you know, there's a lot of things at play here. So, but I mean, from a safety perspective, not even to get all the financial aspect of it, it's more the safety first and then the financial should be the basis. Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, Laurie, I had a question.
Sure, Brian, what's up?
On the MLS rules that you're gonna send to us, will that also show the fines?
I have to look at it. I have not looked at the updated rules yet myself, so I have to see if I can find. John said there is a spreadsheet somewhere, but I might be confusing that with the citations he was talking about. Those were like the ethics violations, which are different than the MLS rules fines. You know what? There still may be, I don't have my Stratus open yet, but there still may be, there used to be a section either right above the MLS rules or below it in that info center section, automatic fines. So there might even be a link there. I have to check and see if that's still there or not, and if it is updated. So, because there are some new things. So, right. Bottom line is when you get a listing, you have to input it to the system by midnight the day after it's listed. No more 48 hours. Remember, we used to be, we get a listing and within 48 hours, it has to be loaded into the system. Now it has to be, if I take a listing today at 5 o'clock, it needs to be inputted by midnight tomorrow in the system. And I also have to have the paperwork attached within 24 hours of that listing date. Okay. So it has to, all that has to be uploaded. That's the important thing. The other thing is property description. That didn't change. That's still a rule from Stratus before, is only property description goes in the property description field. So you can write, you know, nice 3-bedroom, totally updated Cape on dead end block in school district, blah, 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 you know, updated windows, roof, anything about the property. You can't say, call Lori for more information in the property description field, automatic fine, $50, okay? You can't say, check out my website for more info, automatic fine. If it does not relate to the property, it cannot go in the property description. And where this comes from is, my older agents will remember this. Agents used to get creative when it was more of a buyer's market, not a seller's market, and we had to get creative to sell things. We used to, you know, if we were able to offer out a little bit more in commission, when you first opened the MLS field where it said like neighborhood or area was one of the top fields that showed next to the picture, they'd put like asterisks and say 3% buyer broker commission or 3% selling commission. That's not what that field's for. So we used to do things like that to, you know, bring attention to the agents, you know, right away, that they would see, you know, if I sell this property, I'm going to get more commission than if I sell this property. So MLS started making fines for doing stuff like that. All right. The other thing is with the property description field, that's a field that translate to Zillow, to Realtor.com, to the other websites that we push out to. So are you going to like it if your buyer is on Zillow and they look at the description and it says 3-bedroom Cape, everything updated, call, I don't know, call Joe Schmo from Coldwell Banker for more information? Then what do they need us for, right? Unless you have a buyer broker contract, you know, if they're just a customer, then they don't need you. They can go directly to the listing agent. All right. So that's what that all came into play for. All right. But I will send automatic fines if I can find them and how to find them as well. Any other questions? Anybody else have anything to say?
No.
No.
No?
No.
All right.
Lori.
Well, I hope everybody stays healthy. If you need anything, I'm here. So all you have to do is call, you know, text, email, whatever you need. Okay. And I don't know, do we say happy Passover? I don't know if this is a happy occasion, but happy Passover to anybody who celebrates. If I don't talk to those who celebrate Easter before Easter, happy Easter.
Yes, you
Yes,
say
yes,
happy.
Thanks, Lori. Thank
Easter
you.
and happy Passover.
Happy and
Thank you, Lori.
We are
Night
live and
Bye.
It's happy and sweet Passover.
Happy and sweet. There you go.
Thank you.
It's a Pesach. We're good.
Thank you, Lori.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Lori.
Bye.
Bye-bye.